All right, welcome back everybody. Now we are working on attaching the base to our textured slab mug. So this is kind of the third step of creating your textured slab mug. I'm checking out my overall form. It's still nice and soft, a little bit pliable, but it's holding its shape and it's got a nice strong connection on all those parts that I darted last time. Now I'm going to take a little ball of clay and start making kind of a patty in my hand. Kind of letting the clay kind of back and forth a little bit between my hands. Then I'm going to lay this out and start creating a slab like you've seen before. Just use the sticks as a guide and start rolling out your clay, and then flip it over and start rolling it out again until you get the thickness of those sticks. So your slab should be the exact same thickness as the thickness of those sticks. Use your rolling pin to do that, and then once you've got that finished, you're going to do the same thing you've done before with every other slab. You're going to wipe it down lightly with a wet sponge and then compress the clay with your rib. Get all the imperfections and all the little textures and strengthen your wall by compressing the clay down with your rib. Flip it over and do it again. Make sure you do it on both sides because you can see some of the little bit of wrinkles that happen from the canvas. Maybe have an air pocket or something like that. You might need to pop it with the needle tool. And then I'm just going to take some of the excess clay away, ball it up, and then eventually going to put it back in my bag. Now, I want to kind of measure out where I need my slab or how big I need to make my slab. I'm going to place the cup or mug back on top, and I'm going to trace out the base with a little bit of a border, about 1/4 of an inch around the base. So I'll have a little extra clay to work with. Do not make it the exact same size as your base right off the bat. All right, so you can see that there's a little indentation from the weight of the mug sitting on the clay there. And then I'm able to make a slab that's going to be eventually attached to the bottom of that mug. Ball up the clay I don't need. I'm going to save that slab for later for another mug. And then I'm going to start establishing what I need to do for the bottom here. Now the bottom has an angle to it. The actual wall itself kind of points, and I'm going to need to remove some of that. So I'm going to use my metal blade and cut straight across. So make it as flat as possible. I'm going to remove that little point that was created when I did the darting base. So I'm just carefully cutting the pointed part off of each side around the base. Take your time, be careful, and try to make it as flat as possible. So you don't want to take any major dips or chunks out of the clay, because then it's going to cause the base to tilt a little bit to one side or another side when you're actually trying to put it on there. So make sure that's still going to work. Make sure the slab is still big enough. Take it off, and then you're going to prepare the base and the slab to be attached. So you got to score with your wire brush, a couple different directions, crisscross pattern. So you really make sure it's scored well, and then you're going to do the same thing with the slab. I don't need to measure it exactly right now. I want to make sure I just overscore. So I'm going to make it wider than I really need it to be, so I can guarantee that I'm going to actually have the whole thing scored properly and attached properly to the bottom. Go ahead and grab some slip. Use your brush. Make sure it's about the consistency of a milkshake. And then just dab it on there, kind of build up a layer. And since the clay is nice and soft, I can probably just go with one layer on one side and go ahead and lightly press down without crushing my slab. I want to make sure I don't make it super thin in spots because I'm squeezing the clay too hard. So I'm just compressing right around the border edge, and then checking from the side to see the slip and see if it's starting to push out around the seam. And I can check on the inside too. If there's some slip pushing out, that's exactly what I want. And so it looks pretty good. I'm going to keep pressing a little bit more. And then there's some chunks and stuff that need to be cleaned off the bottom of my slab. I'm going to wipe them away, and then I'm going to do one more time. I'm going to rib off the bottom and make it nice and smooth. A couple different directions. And I'm just checking to see how things are looking from the top too. Clean up all my stuff. Keep it wrapped up on my bat so it has some time to kind of equal out. All right, that's it. Thanks.